Equity and inclusion are vital for the City of Greensboro's ability to grow and innovate in such a fast-changing environment. One Greensboro is a monthly show that highlights some of the ways the Office of Equity and Inclusion honors the observances listed on our Heritage Calendar and spotlights a City of Greensboro employee in a segment we call The One. These observances are an integral part of the National Equal Employment Opportunity and Civil Rights Program and encourage us to live as one people, one community, one Greensboro.
Welcome to this edition of One Greensboro. During this edition of One Greensboro, we will be celebrating Black or African American History Month. We are so very fortunate this month to be celebrating and showcasing Boyz here at Friendly Shopping Center in Greensboro. We'll take a look at the restaurant, take a look at the art with local artists and artists from all across the country, as well as their bookstore. And we also will be showcasing our dual episode of The One with our police chief and our deputy fire chief, our own. We call them this month The Ones. So sit back, relax, and again, let's take a look at our Black History show this month. And now we are at Friendly Shopping Center at one of my favorite restaurants. What better way to celebrate Black or African American History Month, whichever way you want to call it, than to eat some soul food. And I love coming to Boyz. And today we're going to talk with Joe Wyatt, who is the owner of Boyz. Hi, Joe.
How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Good.
Thank you for taking out the time, because I know you're busy. It's packed out there. Thank you.
Glad to have you guys.
Thank you
Absolutely.
So much. So I know a lot of our viewers don't know the story of how Boyz came to be. So maybe tell us a little bit about your family, and how you came to be here.
All right. So I'm Joseph Wyatt. My friends call me Joe, and my family is from High Point, North Carolina. So we're right around the corner, and my family origin is from a small town called South Boston, and that's where we got the name from my grandfather. My grandfather, Benjamin Wyatt, was a small entrepreneur for his community, and he went around with a small truck, sort of food truck, and actually had all the little items that a convenience store would have. So basically, he would have your razors, your little candies.
Oh wow!
He would have your drinks and a little, little trinkets for the kids. And he would go around. Some would say that he probably gave away more than he actually sold. Wow. But he took care of the community. The community called him Mr. Ben, and they knew when Mr. Ben was coming around the corner. So my father was actually in partnership with a restaurant called Sid Will's in Jamestown. And as Sid Will's grew, my dad and I decided to do something kind of a little different. We wanted to take the company into another direction. So my father and I left Sid Will's. We started Boyz. We had a vision of growing a enterprise.
Absolutely.
So we are big in the community. So we were looking at how we can reproduce ourselves to create as many jobs as we possibly could. So we started our product lines. We have our restaurant. We've got our food truck, and our food truck is kind of how we started.
I remember those days, because they were parked on the corner. You were parked on the corner across from Bell.
Absolutely, and it's funny because Friendly Shopping Center had never had a food truck at all. I think that I talked with their staff. They understood my vision. They were in a position where they could help me out, and I will always give those guys here at Friendly Shopping Center kudos, because they took the chance on me.
They did. They've never had a soul food restaurant.
They never had a soul food restaurant.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So that and we're honored to be the first African American owned establishment here in Friendly Shopping Center. I want to pay homage to the young woman that had the bakery here for a couple months, and because that's definitely historical too. But we are proud to say that we're here and we're going to be a sustainable business here for the city. And we like to call ourselves a place that everyone can come.
Absolutely.
And get that down home loving. That's why on our t-shirts we have love, comfort food.
Yes.
Because we lead with love first. So when
I love that mac and cheese.
Absolutely.
By the way.
Absolutely.
It's my comfort. Get some before I go.
Right.
Yes.
And we'll definitely make sure you get some.
Thank you, sir.
So, a little bit about myself. I'm a graduate of UNCG, 2005. I also went to St. Augustine University in 2014. I am the former national president of the White House Initiative All-Stars in Washington, D.C., where I work with U.S. Secretary Arnie Duncan, and also under the President Obama administration.
Wow.
So that was a really good experience. Really helped me to understand my abilities as a business person.
What would you say is the biggest takeaway that you learned from that particular position that you had doing that you brought here to the restaurant?
Well, I knew that there were opportunities other than just being in one place.
Right.
Once you figured out what your niche was and what you were good at, the same needs are pretty much in every city.
Absolutely.
So we just took a chance and started to do partnerships. And that's another thing that I actually learned. So partnering with people, partnering with companies, not thinking that our organization was small enough to partner with a House of Autry, which does all of our sauces. We talked to them and they gave us the same chance as Friendly did.
Wow.
They said, hey, okay, we know where you're going from here. We've got a lot more partnerships that are coming down the line. We've got a wine coming up.
Oh my gracious, really?
And you're gonna love it.
Oh, wine.
Oh, listen.
Are we gonna have wine down Wednesday?
We're gonna have a wine Thursday night where we're going to bring another part of art into our restaurant with our spoken word, our visual and our visual talents.
Yes.
So people will be able to come in and say, they can get a glass of wine, they can bring their friends. We're gonna have a limited table, so it's gonna be inclusive of just a small group of people that can get in. It'll be a real intimate atmosphere. So we're looking forward to doing that in March.
That's soon, very soon, okay.
Yep, so it'll be very soon, so you can look out for that.
Can I ask you a question about the art? Because you mentioned the art.
Absolutely.
I know you invested quite a bit in African American art people, and it's around the restaurant. Could you tell everybody about that initiative and also the bookstore and your vision with that, and partnering with Sherricka, who we're going to talk to in a few minutes?
Absolutely. So my favorite restaurant is Boyz and Poets. It is. I felt like there was a need when I went into the restaurant. It spoke to all of the things that I loved. And I knew that there were other people that loved the same things. But I wanted to do it with my own kind of spin. So I had a vision of wanting to bring something similar to that to the Greensboro area. Greensboro is very rich in talent. There is a lot of people that come from here that are here that have a plethora of skills.
Yes, they do.
So, but not all the time do they get the opportunity to be able to showcase them. And I wanted to open up my restaurant to be a community thing. See, we're not really just, the food is just an avenue of bringing people in to understand our culture at a premium level, okay? There's so many things that we as, on Black History Month, African Americans do offer that everyone in the community will love.
Absolutely.
So,
and you're showcasing that.
Absolutely. So
our
art, yep. So we showcase about 70 to 80 different individuals in our restaurant. When I first started out, I really didn't know, and this will be a good story with Sherricka. I knew what I wanted to do. So I had art pieces in. I had a couple books in.
I remember those days.
And sometimes when you have a vision, you have to put placemakers. And it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen the way it's going to happen, but you have to put things in place to say, hey, I can grow into this.
Absolutely.
And I can do this. And the way that it works is when you take a step in your own vision, right? You take baby steps.
Right.
And sometimes that 5th step may show you somebody like Sherricka.
And Sherricka is fabulous.
She is fabulous.
Fabulous. And also, I wanted to not, because I keep looking at that lemonade, and I don't want to lose the lemonade.
Absolutely.
Who's that on the front of that lemonade? Tell that story
So
too.
this is my grandmother. You know, everything about Ben's Boyz is about our heritage and our past.
Yes.
And paying homage to that. I think that, you know, you get your strength from acknowledging the people that are in front of you and the things that they did.
Our elders.
So you don't have to actually walk out on your own. You could take the steps of somebody else's shoulders.
Wow.
And it makes you stronger. So, you know, my grandfather, Ben Wyatt, my father, William Wyatt, and it's me now. So I can take all of their experiences and and develop something that's greater. And hopefully my sons will see, hey, you know what? Let's take it to the next level.
One more question to kind of wind down everything. It's Black History Month, like we talked about. What type of feeling do you feel when you hear Black History Month? Is it just February? Because I know you're going to tell me the truth. Is Black History Month just February?
I think that it's been cliche to say that it's not just February, it's every day, right? So Black History Month is every day. I wish that we would take advantage
Absolutely.
of the celebration and really party. Like really celebrate.
During those 28, 29 days.
Right. So let's say,
yeah.
you know, we know that. It's to be said, you don't even have to say it anymore, that Black History Month is something that happens all the time. Our history is much richer than just 28 days. And I think sometimes we look at it like, well, they gave us the smallest month and da 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 da. And that people have their right to say that.
Right.
I understand where they're coming from. But on the flip side, we can always take it and turn it into something that is going to be extravagant. We can have balls. We can turn the volume way up on February.
Absolutely.
And that is what I would love to see. The one thing as we close, I want people to know that this is going to be a working, this is a living restaurant.
Absolutely.
So you're going to have kids in here for their book clubs. You'll have organizations meeting in here because I'm going to give them the opportunity to be able to meet
with the space.
The space. Okay. We're going to have some arts ensembles to be able to move these chairs around and have some dancing classes with their kids in the back.
Wow.
Because that is what we are all about.
It sounds like it's community.
It's a community-based restaurant.
Absolutely.
So, you know.
And we thank you for that concept because there are so many in Greensboro, but I love the energy, Joe. I love the fact of the vision of branding out. And like I said, I love the fact that you're giving back. We just thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We do. And thank you also for agreeing to interview. I know we're going to look at some other things when we go throughout the restaurant, but thank you for this interview.
Oh, no problem. Hey, listen, anytime that you guys want to come in, we love our community. And we know that everyone in the Greensboro community does contribute to our success.
Absolutely.
So, you know, we thank you guys. We thank every individual person that has come in and actually poured into us. And we hope that, you know, we've done a little bit to pour into you guys.
Absolutely. And don't you tell, because I'm working on some dieting, or not dieting, changing my way of eating, but I'm about to get on that mac and cheese.
Well, listen, you know, we have a couple salads.
Joe. I'm about to get on that mac and cheese as we leave out, okay?
All right.
Thank you.
That's cool.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Welcome to this edition of The One. This month, we will be speaking to two of our very prominent city employees in our public safety department, our police chief, Brian James, and our deputy fire chief, Brent Gerald. I'm so excited to have these two gentlemen here because, little secret, we're all from Greensboro, so we're gonna have a very good conversation. So let's get into the show. Hi, gentlemen, how are you?
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great. Now, let's see, Chief, introduce yourself to the guests. I know people know who you are, but introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Brian James. I'm currently the Chief of Police in Greensboro. I'm from Greensboro. I grew up in the Woodman Park area, went to Page High School, and also went to North Carolina A&T. And shortly after finishing up at A&T, I entered into law enforcement.
All right, okay. And Chief Gerald.
All right, my name is Brent Gerald. I am also from the Woodmere Park neighborhood, also went to Page High School, and I am also a graduate of North Carolina A&T State University. I was commissioned there. I spent 28 years in the U.S. Army Reserves, and I'm currently the longest serving member of the Greensboro Fire Department.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Now, some would say, especially my fellow Ben L. Smith Eagles, why would I have two pirates in this interview? I'm just beyond it myself. I just feel a little Greensboro rivalry going on because back in the day, I think y'all used to beat us a little bit, right? Just a little bit.
Don't think it's used to.
Okay, all right. We're going to leave it alone. We'll come back. We'll come back to that. Okay. So, what event, and I'll leave it to either one of you all to answer the question first, but what event in your career has been the most inspirational for you? Which one? I know there are many, but which one?
Well, I'll tell you this. So I like to talk about, as far as events, what made me want to be in law enforcement. And ironically, as we talk about many of the things going on around police, it was actually the Rodney King incident that happened in LA back in the early 90s.
Yes.
And when I looked at that event, I mean, it was a horrible event, as most people know, and it made me think, you know, we can do better than that in law enforcement. And I also saw that there was a need for people like me, that looked like me, that lived in neighborhoods like I grew up in, to be members of law enforcement if we wanted to try to change the quality of law enforcement and also the perception of law enforcement. So I don't know if that's really the question you asked, but that's what inspired me to actually look at law enforcement as a possible career choice.
And how long again have you been in law enforcement total, Chief?
Almost 28 years
That's what I
total.
thought.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Okay. What about you, Chief Gerald?
Well, for me, it wasn't an event that inspired me to come on the department. It was after I was on the department, and as a member of the U.S. Army Reserves, my chief, or my commander at the time, appointed me to be the fire chief of Baghdad. At the same time being his XO, so running the battalion and working for higher headquarters as the fire chief of Baghdad, that was rewarding to me as a firefighter, and seeing that they were really just like us over here. They wanted to do their job, they wanted to do the best job. As a matter of fact, they were still on the job. And getting them resources and money to feed their families was very rewarding.
Wow, and you've been doing that for 30 years plus, right?
34, 35 at the end of the month.
Woo, my gracious, my gracious. So with all of that being said and the wealth of knowledge that's in front of me with both of you all, who inspired you? What person or what entity inspired you the most?
I'm going to say my mom. Because, you know, she mostly raised by a single mom, and, you know, we always had a roof over our head. The lights always came on when we flipped the switch, and there was always food on the table.
Right.
And if she had not done what she did, I wouldn't be where I'm at.
You would not be here. What about you?
For me, my mom and dad. Mom is that superwoman. She worked. She went back to school to get her master's. Dad worked, sacrificed for us. They always set an example for us to follow. Taught me to march to the beat of my own drum, and just set a high standard for us to follow. And I just always tried to make them proud.
Wow. And it's so amazing because I think all of us old school Greensboro people, as I call it, you know, we all say the same thing because it's the same for me, my parents, you know, and it just touches my heart that you all can say that and you all are sitting here because of what they instilled in you. And I think that's so important, especially leading into this next question, because, you know, a lot of our younger people especially don't understand the roots of where Black History Month or African American History Month came from. So I asked both of you all with the question you just said, what does Black History or African American History Month mean to either one of you? Let's start with Chief Gerald.
Well, for me, it's an opportunity to recognize and celebrate. I mean, that didn't always happen. But I do prefer what I used to hear on the Tom Joyner show, 365 days a year. Right. But I do, the special emphasis, I do like that there is a special emphasis on making sure that recognition and kudos are given. Got it, got it.
What about you, Chief?
Well, for me, and I always say this, and I know you've heard it before, Black history is American history. And I celebrate the month because certainly there are so many contributions that have been made by African Americans that are overlooked. Yes. And so it's that one time of year, although it's only 28 days, but it's that one time of year that we take time to recognize those contributions. But in reality, those contributions should be recognized, alluding to what Chief Gerald said, 365.
And with all that being said, with you as public servants and with all of your service that you've done, how do you celebrate the month? Because I know it can sometimes be a little difficult in the roles that you both are in. How do you celebrate? What do you do? Do you have any traditions?
I can't say that I have any particular traditions. I'm always willing to learn, looking to learn, and just sort of like the movie that came out about the women who in the space program. That was exciting to learn that, but I was not taught that in school. Yes. So I'm always looking to learn about people, especially people who came before me.
Absolutely, and I will give you credit, Chief Gerald, and I know you can write this down, this day, this minute, this time. You did a phenomenal job with putting together our video that we're now showing all of our employees and doing the root and the groundwork for that. So we all thank you for that. That was a part of our learning as an organization, so thank you so very much. Thank you. And Chief Gerald, what about you? I mean, Chief James, what about you?
Just trying to learn something that I didn't know before. There are so many prominent figures in Black history, and oftentimes we go to many of the familiar names, but there are so many people that didn't get the recognition that they deserve, but they certainly contributed a lot. And one thing I always tell people, we take our International Civil Rights Museum that we have right here in Greensboro. I've been through it multiple times, but each time I go through it, I actually learn something new.
Absolutely.
And the guides over there are great, but each of the guides will give you different perspectives, and nuggets of information. And I would encourage everyone to, if you haven't done that, please go do it, especially if you're from Greensboro or you live here.
Absolutely, I agree wholeheartedly. And I know we're doing a lot of partnering with them as well too, so that is great. Do you all have a favorite quote from anyone African American that you kind of live by, or a favorite person that you maybe emulate? Because a lot of people say I give the Oprah Winfrey vibe sometimes, so I'll take Oprah Winfrey, you know, but not that I try to be her, but I you know, look up to what she does and how she presents herself. So do you have a quote or a favorite African American that you can kind of speak to, either one of you?
I'll go, and I'll use Martin Luther King, one of his quotes. I mean, I know everybody likes to quote him, but this is so relevant for this time, and it'll be relevant 100 years from now. The measure of a man is not where he stands in times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. That's true now. It was true 100 years ago. It'll be true 100 years from now, and that's something that I'd say I live by that.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And I can truly say, Chief, it's part of your legacy as well from living by that. You truly emulate that measure of a man, even though you went to Page. How about you? I had to get it in. Yeah, how about you, Chief?
I don't have a particular quote. I mean, there's something I liked the other day that Deion Sanders said, be careful of your role models, because some people out here playing a role. Ooh. So you have to be careful who you follow. and that reminds me of the person, Muhammad Ali, for me. I had to do a book report on him years ago, and he's the greatest boxer and all this. But again, going back to my dad, talking to my dad, well, what does it really mean? And so I had to look at it again, not just from the teaching, from a teacher point of view, but from a teaching point from my father, what it really means to admire him. And so in doing that, did further study on what he stood for and what he was willing to lose to get gain. So that would be Muhammad Ali for me.
Totally makes sense. With those two quotes and people that you just named, I know you all have faced a lot of challenges and a lot of controversy, being in your roles. How has this experience been for you serving in your hometown? I know people want to know.
Well, for me, it's been great.
Really? Okay.
It's been great for me because I was able to, for a majority of my career, serve my own neighborhood that I lived in, but also the church that I grew up in, schools and other institutions in this city that were very important to me, was in the battalions that I served. So I always wanted to give back. I always make sure that I was able to look out for people that I knew. When I went on calls, I was very familiar with a lot of people that I saw. So it was very important to me that the same service is given all over this city, is given in those communities.
No matter what district you live in. Okay. Chief James.
I mean, for me, just proud because there are so many people in the community that played a part in me being able to, get this role, and not just my family, but literally my whole neighborhood. And so it was just a proud moment, not just for me, but for everybody in my community. The other part, as you build relationships in the police department, there's people that Chief Gerald and I have known our whole lives, and that's and you can relate to that.
Absolutely.
That is that relationship extends far beyond my role as a police chief. So that has helped immensely as we're trying to just build community and trying to do a better job in what we do.
And that is so phenomenal because so many of us want to leave. And I know the three of us chose to stay. And it's so refreshing, especially for young professionals or even the younger ones who watch this, to say you can stay at home and you can still grow up to be the police chief and also the deputy fire chief. It's just so amazing to me. So I'm just so excited to have y'all here. My last almost question, because I think I have one more zinger at the end. What's the biggest misconception about both of your roles and both of your professions? Let's start with Chief.
I'd say as far as misconceptions, it's what I think in being in leadership and being an African American in leadership, a lot of times you can get, I'd say, cast in that particular role. It's like, well, the black fire chief, and certainly, I want to be recognized for the job that I do and the abilities that I've exhibited in my role. And not be, essentially designated as the black police chief. Right. And I'm sure most people in African Americans in leadership feel that way. I like to say that, as I was competing for this job across, with people all across America, I was able to be selected for the job because of the abilities that I have, not because of my race or gender, but because of my performance in the processes, the interviews, and also knowing that the education that I received, all of it right here in Guilford County, a few other courses that the department sent me to over the years, but the foundation of all my education was right here in Guilford County. And I took that education and stood it up against people all across the United States that wanted this job, and I was successful. So I'd say, just a misconception about, just being kind of typecast in a way.
As the black police chief.
As the black police chief. I'm the Greensboro police chief.
Absolutely. That's what I was hoping you would say.
Yeah, yes. I'm the Greensboro police chief.
Yes, you are.
And I want to make sure that I'm accessible to everyone that lives in our community.
Absolutely. And that kind of ties into that wild card question. So you have no questions or issues talking about race, period, but you are the Greensboro police chief. That's what we need to leave that. Okay. Because I've heard that. I mean, let's be honest. Yeah, we've got a black police chief, So I was just wondering, yes.
And I understand because it's still, even though I'm the fourth African American police chief, but it's still rare to see us in these roles.
Absolutely.
Not just locally, but nationally. So I understand the pride, and also at the same time, I'm glad that there's some kids, that see me in that role, and it lets them know that they could be the police chief one day or whatever they want to be. But there's no limitations to what they can do.
Absolutely. And Chief Gerald.
Certainly identify what he's talking about, although I don't have the visibility that he does. But for me, one of the misconceptions about it, the job. I came here after graduating from A&T, and it took me a long time to get over, well, I'm coming here for a whole lot less money that I can get out in the private sector. But the one thing that I absolutely did was fall in love with being a firefighter. And so while I had friends out there who were making a lot more money, the complaints about their jobs and having to travel every 3 years in the very beginning, I'd say I love my job and I enjoyed it. And I knew I was giving back to my community, and that was very important to me. It was years later before some were able to establish themselves and lay down roots where they could give back to their community. So giving back to my community, honoring the original 28 who came. I was fortunate to work with a number of them, and that was what let me see that I really could make. I would be all right, and didn't worry about the money so much, and just enjoyed my career, and it's been very productive for me.
Absolutely. And I know when I'm out talking about the fire department, I always say fire service. And I think that's what's missed, and that's what you capitalized on just now. It's not a firefighter or a fireman.
Right.
That's the worst.
Firefighter.
But it's fire service and firefighter. So what I can truly say for both of you all is we would not be where we are without both of you all. You all are the epitome of public service, and that's why we wanted you all to both be the ones this month for the city of Greensboro, because we want people to know that we do have African Americans in prominent public service positions. So we thank you for your service, and we thank you for visiting us today with One Greensboro.
Thank you.
And now we've moved to the bookstore in Ben's Boyz, and I am so excited. I think I was one of the first people to come in this bookstore, so it's so exciting to see everything that's in it now. And we are talking to the collaborator, the motivator, the it woman, the she-ra, Miss Sharika Carpenter Stanley. Hello, Sherricka.
Hello, Maria. Thank you so much for having me today.
And thank you for just we're going to talk about all that in a minute.
Yes.
Being. So tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, and I know you're also an author, so tell a little bit about your book as well.
Okay. My name is Sharika Carpenter Stanley. I am a mother of 3 amazing children, as well as a bonus baby. I am a wife, and like you said, I am currently a self-published author.
Wow.
I was an educator for 20 plus years, and then I said to myself, you know what? I keep telling my students to go for their dreams and my children, but I felt like a hypocrite. I was not going for my dreams. I was not jumping out there and leaping and taking a chance.
Wow.
So during the pandemic, who does that, right?
Oh my gracious,
who
it
does
was
that?
during the pandemic. It seemed like it was so much longer than that,
I
but
know.
it was the pandemic. Okay.
I was just talking to someone that says that 2020 and 2021 feel like the same year. So, but
They
yeah,
were.
they were. But during the pandemic, I decided to jump. I decided to jump. My favorite song is I Hope You Dance. And so I say now what I did was I jumped, I landed, and now I'm dancing.
And look how you dancing, girl.
I know.
Look what's
at
that
it.
saying from the movie with the dancing? Don't put baby in a corner. This is a good corner to be in. So I want you
Dirty
to dance.
Dancing is one of my
Dancing.
favorites.
It's one of my favorites too.
And that's an iconic statement. Don't put baby in a corner.
Don't put her in a corner.
And that's one of the, I'm glad you said that, because so many people box me into educator.
Absolutely.
And then when they were like, you're writing books, I said, Absolutely, I am. That's something that has been a passion all my life.
Wow. And you're not just writing them, you're going on book tours as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Virtual and in person.
I have one tonight.
Oh my gracious. Wow.
I have one
How
tonight.
does that play into our whole theme this month is around Black History Month. So what is the vision for this particular bookstore? And tell us maybe the story, because I have to say, we talked to Joe, and
Yes.
Joe quickly corrected me and said he didn't start this bookstore.
Yeah.
He gave you your flowers and said Sherricka did it. So tell us your vision of getting this bookstore to where it is today.
So I'll start in the beginning. I actually wrote down the dream of having my own bookstore about 10 years ago.
Wow.
Wrote it down, knew exactly what I wanted it to look like, and then put it on the shelf. Much like my dream of becoming an author. Just put it on the shelf. And then at the end of 2019, I started saying to myself, okay, it's time for the next chapter.
I love it.
It's time for the next chapter. And I began starting to really speak that and manifest it. And so when I jumped and landed in dance and published my first book, I Fit In Just Right, Me and My Family, I was able to get my book into Ben's Boys. They were moving from the food truck to here.
Yes.
So I was one of the first people to be on the little shelf.
That
And you
little
couldn't,
shelf.
you
Yeah,
couldn't
I
tell me
remember that shelf.
anything.
Yes.
There were about 7 or 8 of us that were on that little shelf. And then Joe and I established a relationship, and I told him my dream of having a bookstore. And he said, well, Sherricka, why don't you take that space and turn it into something, you know, because what I want to do with it anyway is have it for the community, for creatives. That's my vision for it. Why don't you go ahead and take it? I said, you sure? You might not want me to do that because I'll duty it up.
And look how you did.
And guess what he did?
Wow.
He gave me full reign.
Wow.
And I am eternally grateful to the Wyatt family, eternally grateful for trusting me with this space, for trusting me to bring in the creatives and the locals. What it's doing for so many people, being able to say my book is beside Tabitha Brown's, the likes of Tabitha Brown or Will Smith, you know.
Yes.
You know.
Absolutely.
How it feels to be in this
Michelle
space.
Obama.
And
It's
Michelle
just in the
Obama.
Obamas, yes.
Right.
Everything
right.
is over there, so.
Everything. So for the locals to be able to have that opportunity, it is a blessing for me because I'm one of those people, when my cup runneth over, I don't want that to just stay in that saucer. I want to be able to give it out.
And you
so
all
that's
are
just
doing an awesome job. That's what I told him. And it's not just about the books. There's also jewelry in here, as you can see. And there's
jewelry,
also
body butters, gift wrapping paper, candles, colognes, perfumes. We have a little bit of everything. Valentine's Day cards.
Everything. And the Aggies that we are.
Yes.
It's some A&T stuff.
There
in here
is
too.
A&T stuff. And a little bit of Ram stuff kind of, you know,
You know, we'll put that to the side.
and a central book.
Right. And, look, and
but
for
no,
Joe,
it's all
UNCG,
HBC.
you know, A&T right there, even though I'm
And we have
spaggy.
some Bennett Bell earrings too.
I love
so
it.
all HBCU love. You know, we joke about that, but it's all love and all unity.
Yes.
So
and that's why it's so important that we showcase this, and
Absolutely.
we came here for Black History Month to show how you all are giving back to the community.
Absolutely.
One of the things I want to also ask you is, what's next? I heard you talked about all of these things, but what's next for the creatives, for the space? What do you plan to do next?
Well, there are a lot of activities coming up for the creatives.
Oh,
I
wow.
will tell you that. Saturday mornings, we are having story times with the authors. It went really well last year, so we're opening that back up. We are having Sunday exhibitions where our jewelry makers and our candle makers get to come in and showcase their
awesome.
items. Yep. And one of the ones that we are super, super proud of is Cornbread in a Book.
I love that.
And I have to give Miss Marsha her credit because I told her I would. She's a customer that came in one day and she absolutely said, I like this. Ain't nothing like cornbread in a book.
Boom.
And I said, ooh, I like that.
And the
And so
cornbread
that's
is
what we
good.
named. Yeah, the cornbread is good. And so that's what we named the book club. And the book club is from kindergarten all the way up to adult because we really, really, really want to focus on family bonding time and literacy. And so one of the best ways to do that is a book club and get the entire family reading. And so we're establishing that right now, and it's going to start in March. And we're super excited about it. So you guys go and register for that.
Wonderful. And you know I will.
Yes,
and you know what I'm
please.
hearing, which I love, to give you your props as well. You still have that educator in your soul, and you're able to live out your dream. Because literacy, especially in the African American community and persons with color right now in Guilford County, we have to get those reading levels up.
We do.
So what better way, like you said, than to hopefully get more people involved in this book club?
And
with
if Guilford
reading.
County wants their 20 minutes of reading for their children, this is an absolute cool way to do that.
Yes, it is.
Because we're going to start with Zoom. We're going to do it in a safe way. You know, right now numbers are up and all of that. So we're going to do it in a safe way with a Zoom, but we would love to be in person so that we can really all be
That would be
together
good.
and get together for some cornbread in our book.
That would be good.
But if we get the entire family reading and getting excited about their day of the month, that is book club, and what they're talking about, what they're reading, oh my gracious. Think
The
about
sky's
what
the
that
limit.
does. Think about what that does for family time.
Absolutely.
If we put phones away.
I was gonna say,
put
no
phones
more
away.
TikToking and texting.
Yeah, no more TikToking and no more IGN. And we sit down and read a book together and then talk about how our book club went. Oh my gracious.
Okay, you've
I'm
inspired me.
excited.
I'm definitely gonna get a book so I can read to Madison
Yes,
tonight. Definitely
yes,
gonna do it.
yes.
So my last question,
Yes,
tell us
ma'am.
about the hours. When is the bookstore open? When
Okay.
can people come visit?
So the restaurant has different hours than we do because I'm one person, so
Absolutely.
But you can come in. Mondays we're closed. Tuesdays and Wednesdays we're here from 1 to 4. Thursdays we're here from 2 to 4, and then 6 to 7. Same on Fridays.
Okay.
And then on Saturdays we're here from 12 to 5.
Okay.
And Sundays again 1 to 4.
1 to 4.
So just trying to balance, trying to balance author, mother, wife,
Absolutely.
as well as bookstore
Superwoman,
curator.
that's
Yes.
right, yes. And
I
we'll
put on
make
my
sure
cape
we
every
put
now
those
and
up.
again.
I know. We share it. We share.
Yes.
That's what Aggies do. So
Yes.
Sherricka, thank you so much.
you,
and like I
Maria.
said, this space is just come so far, and it still has so much further to go.
I
Because I know with you
know.
in charge, it's going to be just phenomenal over the years to come. So thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you. I'm super excited. You guys come visit.
Absolutely.
And come and see us and come grab something.
So I'm going to get my cornbread. And
Yes.
I'm going to get my mac and cheese right
Yes,
now.
and then come back and get a book.
Definitely, we'll do. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Maria. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was such an amazing show. In talking with Joe Wyatt, the owner of Boyz, then also talking with two of our own, the ones as we call them this month, Chief Brian James, and also Deputy Chief Brent Gerald, and concluding with Sharika Carpenter Stanley. Whoa, it was just such a great episode. And what better way, like we said, to celebrate Black History Month than to make sure that we have all of this rich history shown with all of you as our viewers. So thank you so very much for continuing our journey in becoming One Greensboro.